So let me look at the slides. I think I will flip through the let me look at the two source slides first. So this is the combination of lecture and textbook. And again, because this is a long lecture, I think this is also kind of long. It has, well, 15 slides isn't that long. So I don't know. Maybe they skipped out some stuff. So this is the slide, visualizing the invisible, like electric field lines, maybe. Uh, a conceptual guide to electricity, tracing the journey from static charges to dynamic circuits. Yeah, like the DC current scenario where you need to have electric field within the conducting material. And within the pictures, I don't know why it's hiding the dipole arrangement, because by hiding where the dipole is, this looks like it could be magnetic fields, but let me move on. Let me not try not to be overly critical, because I could be criticizing something in the lecture instead of the textbook. I do think this picture is in the textbook, and underlying unity, yeah, golden rule of electricity, yeah, likes repel, opposites attract. I think it's good enough to memorize. No harm. And now in more quantitative class, you can stop there. You have to work out the rest of the math. But I think especially for this conceptual class, the phrase like charges repel, opposite charges attract, I think that's a perfectly fine way to phrase your understanding of electrostatic interaction. Conservation of charge. Charge is a fundamental property of matter. It cannot be created or destroyed. Only transfer from one object to another. Yeah. Between this elementary matter like electron and quarks, you cannot even transfer charges, because the electron charge, it's part of the electron property. You can separate it from the electron. Yeah, good. Where do charges come from? Yeah, you have to talk a little bit about structure of the atom to talk about origin of the charge. And so Coulomb's law, yeah, so as I was saying, this is the most mathematical of the content you will see this week. Now, one thing that I hope helps you is that Coulomb's law is very similar to the Newton's law of universal gravitation. They both have inverse square dependence, and they both have some product of the source material that's also involved in how they feel the force, and the and I guess the constant, which doesn't change overall. Kind of the feature overall shape of the thing. So, but in terms of like getting intuition for this inverse square law, if you think back to comparison with gravity, it all makes sense as long as you are kind of comparing it for this like the opposites attract kind of scenario. Okay, let's look at slide number 5, paradigm shift from action to field. Oh, action at a distance to field, the modern view. I guess pictures are right enough. Don't know if they, so especially if they mention the action at a distance to have the full value, that they should compare that to like a local theory or interaction that can be explained through things that are kind of right next to each other. I think they should really mention that, but let me move on. Running out of time. So these are examples of the field. I don't know if your textbook had this many examples, but yeah, point charge. Now some of these drawings are wrong, like drawing arrows in a way where arrows are ending mid space. Don't do that. It's wrong. If you want to draw like fewer arrows from the start, you can definitely do that. But like drawing additional arrows to indicate electric field is stronger here, you really shouldn't do that, because without doing that, the density of the lines is changing. And dipole, that's correct picture. And infinite plane. The thing that if you haven't seen already might be surprising is that on infinite plane, the electric fields are uniform. So like in between, in the middle, you should have the same electric field as what you had near the edge. Okay, question slide 7. electric potential, yeah, you can kind of compare that to potential energy of a ball that's gonna roll down. Or connection to potential energy is a little bit harder, but you can think in terms of the water analogy. So in the water analogy, the connection to energy is harder, but you can still um, you can still look at voltage as the thing that's driving the current. But I think I was misreading this figure. It's not really showing me water flowing through pipes. It's just version of this where I don't know. It looks more polished, so maybe that's why they're saying it's electrical. I don't know, but that looks fine. Equipotent. Yeah, this is great. This actually looks good. I guess there must be a like textbook figure that shows this in a 3D sense. Um, and yeah, if you imagine placing a positive charge here, it'll roll down. So positive it's repelled. That I think all looks good. Um, yeah, charges naturally fall from high voltage to low voltage. Yeah. Okay. This is the breaking the static equilibrium. Oh, to have a steady state current flowing. So in order to have current flowing, you need actual voltage difference. So which means you are putting in energy through, and yeah, I guess that's one of the points. To create a circuit, power supply or voltage supply must constantly work to maintain a voltage difference. Yeah. Okay, question 10. Oh, sorry, slide 10. Water analogy of circuits. Yeah, this is basically in the simulation that I showed. That I also show like the effect of different height. I think. But you can look at difference in height. Results in some pressure, which results in voltage. Yeah, water volume per second is the water current. Yeah, good. Slide 11. Yeah, it's a matter of how you measure current. You imagine current. I think they drew this wrong. The charges should be moving across this plane, and you imagine taking back 1 second, counting all the charges that flow through. That gives you a measurement of ampere, the unit of current. And yeah, current is not the speed of individual. Yeah. Again, these charges. These ones they've drawn to the left top and bottom right corner. I don't think they are right. But yeah. So the way I explain in the lectures, imagine you are the toll gatekeeper. You wait 1 second. Which of these charges have crossed? You count it as delta Q. Which of charges came closer but didn't quite cross? Okay, you wait until when they actually do cross to count them as current. Yeah, the unit 1 ampere. Good. Incompressible flow and conservation. Yeah, if you imagine these are like water, the water elements, then as they go through the narrow portion, they actually cannot like same amount that flows in has to flow out. So what water molecules end up doing is just moving faster. I think to maintain the exact same flow rate, current, through a bottleneck, the individual electron must be drastically increase their drift velocity. 13, resistance versus resistivity. Resistance measured in changes based on object overall physics. So like there's no table of resistance. You just measure it when you need it or know how to read register codes. Now resistivity is different. Like a density, it's the material property. Now, yeah, it's in a electrical friction or the yeah. I think that looks good. Let me move on to the next slide. I might not have any time to go over the lecture-based slide. I'll just say this much. Master equations. Yeah, there's Ohm's law, power. Yeah, electrical toolkit. I guess that's a nice summary. So this is so I guess I'm kind of out of time, so I won't have time to go over the. Oh wait. So what I just looked through, was that this or no, so what I just looked through was the one based on lecture and textbook, And what else is, as I was flipping through it, all of this kind of seemed fine. I didn't see any big issues. I've done that like before this virtual class session. But when I looked at the textbook version, I didn't like it quite as much. So, and mainly on the basis that, it's not the exact way I've phrased and illustrate this. And I do think for um, so I do think what I will do in for the upcoming chapters is I'm gonna create the slides just uh, based on the lecture transcript, and I will try to see comparing that generated slides against the homework to see if there are any big gaps that somehow if you only read through the lecture slides, then you couldn't answer a particular question. I'll look for that. And all of this comes down to, again, so I'll click through it to show, but a lot of like representations and the wording isn't either exactly how I do it, or sometimes they are way too advanced, especially for conceptual physics. So it's those. I think I actually did like the other one better. So it's not a matter of do you have too many sources for notebook LM to correctly generate what you want. I did like the ones that have a portion of lecture in it. So in the upcoming weeks, I might just to continue creating two set of slides. One with the lecture and textbook, and another with just the lecture. And in any weeks where I feel like the lecture plus the textbook doesn't have any additional useful info, I might delete those and just retain the lecture slides that seem to cover everything that's needed. So